In our last video, we ranked the icons of myself, the default icons, and 17 of my friends I met in my time playing the game. In the sequel to this video, we're going to be doing the same, but for GD YouTubers and players. Where we last left off, our tier list looked a little like this. You had Micros, the default icons, and Neo has no socks in C tier, Max Velocity, Vridge, Firobot, XY Ghost, Melee, Ballcat, Tria, Ultra Jesco, and BTM in B tier. In A tier, we had Shardix, Coin Dragon, Dundit Boy, J2, Crimsara, and Conda Beast. And in S tier, we have myself and Splinter25. Now with that out of the way, let's get right into our next segment.
Push the fucking pack off of the porch or break a pound down. Get the scrap if it happen to blow, it makes a round sounds. Pussycat on my lap.
Our first YouTuber is one I've been watching for over 10 years, EVW. Now, EVW's been rocking the red and white icons ever since I think I started watching him, which is insane. He's had his set longer than I've had mine. He rocks the best UFO in the game, and his ball's pretty good too. His spider, while not being one of the best, is definitely one of the better ones. It follows the normal structure of the spider pretty similarly, so I find it pretty useful. The robot I enjoy, and the wave is okay, nothing special. The cube, if EVW didn't use it, I don't feel it'd be as iconic as it is. So, I'm a little biased. It's definitely his icon, and he's made it seem a lot better throughout the community. His ship is one that I'm iffy about. I know Sir Punch uses the same ship. It's not the greatest, but it's definitely a solid one. For EVW, I'm going to put him in A tier. AonAir's been in the community since around 1.6 if memory serves me right. He began as a mobile player, quit the game, and then came back on computer after a couple years. After he rejoined the community, he kept the same icon set, or one similar to it. He rocked the same colors throughout the entire time, and this is the set he has. I don't like his wave. I'm gonna come right out and say it. I do not think the circular wave is that good. I was never the biggest fan. The spider, however, I really enjoy. I love the gradient on it and the scorpion look to it. The robot's okay. I frankly don't remember it, don't remember unlocking it or ever seeing it, but it's a decent one. The ball's pretty good, the UFO's okay. As I mentioned before, I'm fine with most of the basic icons. The ship I really like, especially with Aeon's colors. It gives it a really interesting look. The cube, I'm not the biggest fan of. It's alright. Aeon's definitely rocked it for a long time, but the shape of it never really appealed to me. But AonAir gets a nice B tier. Next up, we have a friend of AonAir's, and probably one of my favorite YouTubers in the GD community, at least when he was uploading, Trusta. Now, Trusta has a really solid icon set, using the same Riot colors. His cube is the cyclic cube, and it looks iconic, especially with these colors. And the ship is the same as Aeon's, and it looks really nice in the pink and blue as well. The ball I like, the UFO I'm okay with, as well as the wave. The robot, I feel like Trusta could definitely pick a better one, but the basic robot gets the job done. The spider, as mentioned before, I also am a fan of. And Trusta uses the outline, which is something I don't see a lot of top-end players do anymore. So that's really surprising. Trusta definitely has a solid icon set. I'm going to put him in A tier. Next up, we probably have one of the best showcasers in the GD community, whose footage I'm probably using in the background right now, Nexus. Now, Nexus uses the same UFO and ship that I do, so he gets brownie points there, because I still feel like they are some of the best icons in the game. The ball is really good, especially with the red and white, same as EVW, and he rocks the Electrodynamics cube, which I find looks really nice with these colors. The wave is really nice. The robot is probably the goofiest looking out of all of these, more due to the shape of it rather than anything, but it's still pretty good. The spider is kind of funny, but it's solid. Nexus also uses an outline, which as mentioned before, I don't really see as often anymore in the GD community, so it just brings an extra layer to his icons. I'm gonna put Nexus in A tier. Our next icon set is a recent Edge of Destiny victor, Nepesta. Now, Nepesta has been one of my favorite streamers ever since he started playing Kinos. I always found him really funny and just entertaining to watch. He uses a texture pack, but as mentioned in the last video, I'm disregarding them and just using the ones in the normal GD menu. Now, he also uses the cyclic cube, which I really like with his minty colors, as well as the ship. The robot looks really clean, and I remember using that same robot when I first established my icon set. The spider doesn't look as nice with these minty colors, but still looks pretty cool. The UFO, I'm a decent fan of. The ball as well, although I feel like the black doesn't work as well on this as it does with some other colors. Nepesta is going to be another A tier for us. You can't talk about Nepesta without also bringing up his friend Technical49. Technical's been rocking the green and purple for quite some time, if memory serves me right. His robot is really solid, and of course he uses the best UFO in the game. The Steam icon cube looks strange, I'm not gonna lie, with these colors. I feel like Pharaoh's looks a lot nicer, especially with the black and red, but it looks interesting here. I wouldn't say good, but interesting. The Seahorse I also feel doesn't really work well with these colors, but still looks nice. The ball is really good, again, not the best with these colors, and the wave is probably the best out of the whole set, other than the UFO. The spider's pretty cool too. I like the blockier appearance of it, I feel like it really works. But Technical is gonna go right here in B tier. Now we have Nebas Editor, and probably one of the best players this game has ever seen, Doggy. Now, I really don't like Doggy's wave and cube, especially the cube. I just was never a fan of like the more uneven looking ones. The ship is good, as I mentioned, the Seahorse ship is one I enjoy, and the robot's really nice. The UFO's interesting, probably one of the better looking ones, but I feel like his colors kind of make it look strange. The normal spider looks okay, and the ball also looks okay. Doggy's colors are interesting because they're both really bright and pop out at you, but I feel like they work nicely with one another. I'm going to put Doggy right next to Technical in B tier. Next we have the creator of levels such as Freedom 08, Big Boom, and Generic Wave, Pudo. Now, Pudo uses one of the best icons in the game, if not the best icon in the game. I'm going to say it every time it comes up just to drill it into your guys' head. He also uses the shark ship, which I feel looks really nice. The ball is good, and I really like how the dark blue and the black go together on it. The wave is also pretty clean. The spider is probably the goofiest in this set, but I feel it looks really nice with Pudo's colors and kind of matches his personality and that goofy kind of appeal to it. The robot looks really nice, especially with the bronze kind of color it has to it. The cube is also pretty nice. I like the swirl in the middle, especially with these two colors. I know I keep talking about the colors, but I feel it looks really nice on the set, especially with the dark blue outline. Pudo's gonna go right in A tier. It's quite literally impossible to talk about Pudo without mentioning Minecat. Now, Minecat uses a gray on gray, which is two colors I've never really seen combined in an icon set. It gives Acropolis vibes, especially with the spider and the UFO. The ball looks really interesting with these colors, as well as the ship. It gives it more of a metallic feel. The meltdown icon, I feel looks kind of funny, but it's still nice looking, especially with the gray. The wave, I'm not the biggest fan of the knife wave, but it looks so clean with the gray on it. I'm gonna put Minecat right in A tier. Samifying has always been one of my favorite creators in the game. From levels like Blast Furnace and Sedulous, he makes incredible gameplay and has really nice deco to go with it. His icon set is not my favorite. While I really like the colors, the cube and the ship bring it down a lot, especially the cube, as I don't really like the paradoxical look to it. The wave I'm also not the biggest fan of. If you haven't picked up on this, eyes on the icons, I don't seem to enjoy that much, and this one falls into that category. The robot and the spider are pretty good, and the ball's pretty nice too, especially with the gradient on it. Samifying's gonna have to go right here in C tier. Next up we have the Extreme Demon Grinder Xeronium. Now, Xeronium also uses the minty colors, such as myself, but instead of the gray, he uses a white. His UFO and Wave are both really good, and as always, I'm going to mention the UFO is the best in the game. The Spider and Robot I also really like. The Spider especially, with the gradient on it and the two colors mixing very nicely. The Ball I don't like as much, more due to the triangular aspect of it. The Ship I'm also not as much of a fan of with these colors. I feel like other color sets do it better justice. His Cube I really like, however, as it looks more like a ball while still retaining cube aspects that some of the other ones have, and it's become quite iconic for Xeronium. I'm going to put Xeronium right here in B tier. Here we have Lord Vadercraft, who uses blue on blue in his icon set, and it looks really clean together. As I'm going to mention, every time this UFO shows up, still the best in the game, that's not going to change. The outline on the icons too is something that surprises me, as Lord Vadercraft is pretty high end in terms of demon completions. His spider's very nice, I'm a big fan of the scorpion one, and I really like the gradient on this one too. He uses the ultimate deadlocked robot, which I always felt was kind of funny looking, but looks nice with these colors. The wave I really like, especially with the darker border around it. The ball too looks very clean with these colors. The Rhino ship is one I always found kind of similar to the Ghost ship, just not used as frequently, so it looks really nice here, especially with these colors. The cube I don't like as much, as again, it has more like facial features, which I don't seem to like with most icons. Granted, mine also has facial features, but I guess it's just a matter of preference. Lord Vadercraft is going to go right here in A tier. Up next we have another one of my favorite creators, Wolsey. Now Wolsey makes a lot of content that I really enjoy watching, and I would argue that he's one of the major reasons that I decided to get back into making content, but I'm not the biggest fan of his icon set. I really don't like the orange on yellow, although he seemed to make it pretty iconic for himself to use that set. He uses a lot of the basic icons, which I said that I really have no issues with, the wave being the best here, but I find that a bunch of them grouped together kind of looks strange. The spider I find is worse than the regular spider, as it's literally just that with spikes on it, and I don't find the spikes all too appealing. The ball looks pretty cool, especially with the gradient feature on that, each triangle being lighter or darker depending on which way you go. The ship I'm not the biggest fan of, it feels too blocky for me, and the cube is okay. I'm gonna be honest guys, I think this is gonna be our first D tier for this whole series. Yeah, D tier. Next up we have Tried, another GD content creator that uses blue on blue. Now his ship, I'm not the biggest fan of. Granted, he uses a texture pack, but as I mentioned in the previous part, we're going to be going based off the icons just shown in-game. Meaning his ship is this one, which I really do not like. The ball I'm also not the biggest fan of, as I find too much of each color kind of throws it off for me a little. The UFO I'm a really big fan of, and I don't quite remember seeing this one in-game, so it surprises me that it looks this nice and I haven't recognized it. The wave, spider, and robot are all really good, and the cube I love, especially with the light blue and dark blue gradient. I think it looks really nice. Tried is going to go right here in B tier. Our next GD content creator is Juniper, who's also in the Minty Colors Club. She uses the same spider as me, granted the whiter color is swapped so it's not the base, it's rather the spikes, but it still looks really nice. It also looks really nice on the robot and ball. The UFO I'm not the biggest fan of, I never was. I don't know how much of it is me being angry that I don't have it yet, and the other half is just I don't like it, but was never the biggest fan. Same goes for the ship, I feel like it's too chunky and big to really be usable. The wave with these colors I'm not the biggest fan of. I said it looked really nice with Minecat's colors, with the gray on gray, but I feel like any other colors don't do it as much justice. And the cube I'm not the biggest fan of either. As mentioned, I don't really like the more physical cubes like this one. Juniper's gonna go right here in B tier. Next up we have Dami, who also is famously known for using a texture pack, so his icons appear vastly different in game. His everything is strange about this set. The white on white, the UFO, the ship, the ball, the robot, it just looks strange in my opinion. The wave and the cube are the two that I'm most familiar with, and the robot, I mean it looks okay, but not as high quality as some of the other ones. Dami also uses an outline which looks really interesting with the white on white colors. But for Dorami, I'm gonna have to say C tier due to the basic nature of it. Our next content creator is one that doesn't quite upload anymore, at least as far as I'm aware, but is still integral to the history of this game. Riot. Now, Riot's colors, as mentioned before with Tria, I really like. I find they're iconic and just look very clean together. The cube doesn't look the best with these colors, but I find it's still an iconic enough cube to warrant its own ranking. The ship looks really nice, as well as the ball, and as mentioned all the time with basic icons, the UFO and the wave look okay. The robot looks nice, although I don't feel the colors do it as much justice, and same with the spider, even though, as mentioned, I feel this is the best spider in the game. Riot's also gonna go right here in B tier. Our next creator is one that has been at the helm of the community ever since I joined the game, Vibrant. Now, Vibrant uses a really interesting color set, which is purple and yellow, which are opposite colors on the color wheel, and kind of look strange together, but Vibrant also uses a lot of gradient icons, which looks really nice with these two colors. His cube and ship I both really like. The colors don't take away from how sick the icons look. The ball also looks really nice, more due to the gradient giving it that orange color around the edge. The UFO I really like. I find that with the outline, it brings the whole thing together a lot more. The wave is definitely one that I like less here, but it's still really solid. The robot looks strange with the yellow, but that's like my only real issue with it. And as mentioned, the spider looks like Joltik, especially with this yellow here. I'm gonna put Vibrant right here in A tier. The last icon set we're going to review is the icon set of the developer of the game, Robtop. Now, Robtop uses all 2.2 icons, which, as of recording this, has not been released, so we're ranking some never-before-seen icons, which I find really cool. The cube I'm not the biggest fan of. The shopkeepers never really appealed to me, so I don't see the reason to make it an icon, but I definitely get it from a gameplay standpoint. This ship looks really cool, and I'm glad we're getting something like this in 2.2. The ball I also really like, that it's just a cube in a glass dome. I find it really interesting, and might end up using this when 2.2 comes. The UFO just looks like the basic UFO with a smile drawn over it, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but the wave I really like, especially with these blue and purple colors. It makes it look really hot, and seems like a really interesting wave to use. The robot I find really funny. It suffers from the same thing that the UFO does, but I feel like it's a lot better done here. And the spider, that spider looks incredible, and I'm so excited to start using that when 2.2 comes out. Robtop's also going to go right here in A tier, which is solid for the developer of the game. In the end, this is what our tier list looks like. At the bottom, we have Woolsey in D tier. In C tier, we have Micros, the default icons, Neo Has No Socks, Samifying, and Dorami. In B tier, Max Velocity, Bridge, Firobot, XY Ghost, Melee, Ballcat, Tria, Ultra Jesco, BTM, AonAir, Technical 49, Doggy, Xeronium, Tried, Juniper, and Riot. In A tier, Shardix, Coin Dragon, Dundit Boy, J2, Crimsara, Conda Beast, EVW, Trusta, Nexus, Nepesta, Benuto, Minecat, Lord Vadercraft, Vibrant, and Robtop. And in S tier, we have myself and Splinter25. Just to kind of wrap up this video, I want to thank you guys for bearing with me, getting this out 2 days late. I've been a little overwhelmed with school lately, especially with midterms coming up, so I appreciate you guys letting me take the time to get this video out to you. Our next one's going to be a very special upload, so I really hope you guys tune in for that. But as for the rest of this video, leave a comment, like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and I'll see you guys next time.